It was cold, late at night, and Daniel had just finished another exhausting shift. With nothing in his pockets but a crumpled $5 bill, he saw a young man shivering by the gas station, barefoot, hungry, and invisible to the world. Daniel paused. He could have walked away like everyone else, but he didn't. That night, he gave away the only money he had left to someone he'd never see again, or so he thought. What Daniel didn't know was that this one simple act of kindness, done in silence without cameras or applause, was about to change his life in a way no one could have predicted. Daniel was no stranger to struggle. He worked long hours at a construction site just to pay the bills and take care of his little sister at home. Every day was a battle to stay afloat, juggling rent, groceries, and keeping the lights on. But no matter how tired he was, Daniel never lost his sense of compassion. That evening was colder than usual. His hands were rough from the workday, and his stomach reminded him he hadn't eaten since noon. As he passed the corner store, he spotted a teenager sitting on the sidewalk, soaked from the rain, no shoes on his feet, and hugging his knees like the world had forgotten him. Most people crossed the street to avoid looking. Daniel stopped. He didn't know this boy's name or where he came from, but he saw something familiar in those eyes. Fear, hopelessness, and a silent cry for help. Without thinking twice, Daniel opened his jacket, pulled out his sandwich from lunch, and handed it over along with his last $5 bill. "Get yourself something warm," he said softly. The boy didn't say much, just nodded with wide eyes and whispered, "Thank you." That was it. No dramatic moment, no camera recording. Just a small gesture in a quiet night. Daniel walked home with empty pockets, but somehow a full heart. The following weeks weren't kind to Daniel. Work hours got cut, and his landlord gave him an ultimatum: pay in 5 days or leave. His truck broke down right in the middle of a cold morning, and repairs were way beyond what he could afford. Life, it seemed, was taking everything away piece by piece. There were nights when he skipped dinner just so his sister could have a full plate. He sold his old tools, borrowed from friends, and even picked up odd jobs on weekends. Every step forward felt like walking through mud, slow, exhausting, and painful. But through it all, Daniel never once regretted giving those $5. Some friends told him he was foolish. "You can't afford to be generous right now," they said. But Daniel didn't see it that way. He believed that kindness wasn't something you gave only when life was easy. It was something you gave, especially when it wasn't. Still, as the days passed, hope began to wear thin. He didn't expect anything in return for what he had done, but deep down, a quiet voice kept asking, did it even matter? It was an ordinary Tuesday. Daniel had picked up an extra job helping renovate an office downtown. Anything to bring in a little more money. He was covered in dust and sweat when a black SUV pulled up near the site. At first, he didn't pay attention, but then the door opened, and a man in a tailored suit stepped out, looking straight at him. The man walked with purpose, but his face carried a softness, like someone who had been searching for something important. He approached Daniel with a quiet smile and said, "You probably don't remember me, but I remember you." Daniel froze. The voice felt oddly familiar, but he couldn't place it. "That night, in the rain, you gave me everything you had," the man continued. "No one else even looked at me. But you stopped." Daniel's mind raced. The gas station, the jacket, the sandwich, the $5. It couldn't be. But it was. The teenager he helped that night was now standing in front of him, transformed. "That moment saved me," the man said. "I had just left home. I was angry, lost, and ready to give up on everything. But your kindness, it reminded me that good still exists, that I still mattered." Daniel didn't know what to say. He simply nodded, his throat tightening, emotions flooding in like a wave. Before Daniel could fully process what was happening, the man reached into his coat and pulled out an envelope. "This is for you," he said. "Not because I owe you, but because I want you to see what your heart made possible." Daniel opened the envelope slowly, his calloused hands shaking slightly. Inside, there was a check, not for 100 or even 1,000, but for $500,000. He blinked, thinking his eyes were playing tricks on him, but it was real. Behind the check was a handwritten note that simply said, "You saw me when no one else did. You saved a stranger's life. Now let me help build yours." For a moment, Daniel stood there in complete silence. The noise of the construction site faded into the background. All he could hear was the echo of that rainy night, the words he'd spoken to a boy in need, and the heartbeat of a moment he never expected to come back. "This isn't charity," the man said gently. "It's gratitude, and it comes with an offer. I'm building something, a foundation to help people who are down just like I was, and I want you to be a part of it." For the first time in years, Daniel felt something he hadn't allowed himself to feel. Freedom. Not just from bills and struggle, but freedom to breathe, to live, to dream again. That same week, Daniel moved into a small home with his sister, paid off all their debts, and started working with the new foundation, not just as an employee, but as a co-leader. His experience, his kindness, and his story became the very heart of the mission they built together. He had given away $5 without expecting anything in return. And what he received wasn't just money. It was a new beginning, a reminder that even in the darkest hours, one simple act of kindness can light up a future no one saw coming. Most people go through life believing that small actions don't matter, that kindness is too quiet to make a difference. But Daniel's story proves the opposite, that sometimes the smallest gesture at the right moment can echo louder than we imagine. What we give finds a way to return. We never truly know the battles others are fighting. A meal, a warm word, $5. They may seem like nothing to us, but to someone else, they can be everything. And when we lead with compassion, we don't just help others heal. We often heal parts of ourselves we forgot were broken. So if this story touched you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Let someone out there remember that kindness is never wasted. And maybe, just maybe, your simple act today will change someone's tomorrow.